There's a way to make an entrance.
This is my destiny.
It was now a conspiracy of witches.
Download Veely today.
Hi, I'm Candice. Welcome to Mothership, and today we are talking all things birth.
Even as a midwife, I was not prepared.
Do your pelvic floor exercises.
I'm a very shy pooer.
Now, it doesn't matter how much you prepare, nothing guarantees how your little one's going to make it into the world. Let's talk about it. So, birth. And I think with this one, we just need to dive right in because there are so many stories. But does anything actually prepare us for that moment? NCT, hypnobirthing?
I think the most important thing with it is being informed about all your choices rather than being prepared for one choice, because I think sometimes classes can make you direct yourself towards one path and you don't know what path it's going to take, even if you've had easy births in the past. Every birth is different, so if you've had difficult ones in the past as well. So I think it's about being fully informed and through your own education as well. And that can prepare you, but you'll never be ready for it because it's such a physiological thing, isn't it? It's something that you've only possibly done maybe once or twice before maximum. So, you can't really prepare yourself fully.
I'm trying to prepare myself. I'm about, we'll say, 4 to 6 weeks out of giving birth for the second time. And the first time was not the greatest. So I'm moving into that process a little bit apprehensive. But at the same time, it was so not good that I'm like, it can't really get any worse. We've been there. But what were your experiences with birth?
How long you got? My first son, I gave birth in 2015. I was induced. I had the pessary, the lovely pessary, and within a couple of hours, I was 8 centimetres, but then everything stopped when I had my epidural.
Okay.
And so 14 hours of nothing, and then I developed sepsis, and the baby's heart rate went up. Woo! So I had to have an emergency cesarean. So the baby was born at 4 a.m. by cesarean. Second baby, this guy, I went into hospital with my sandwich, thinking I was going to have to just sit down and be sent home. Yeah. But within an hour, I was feeling quite uncomfortable, and I talked to a midwife. She said, "Well, let's have a look at 7 centimetres dilated."
Oh, wow.
And I went, does that mean, should I finish my sandwich? Yeah. And they were like, no, you're having a baby now. And I had a cesarean while I was asleep, and I woke up and there was a baby.
Okay.
But that second time it was horrible. Within 24 hours I was home watching Game of Thrones. And eating pizza,
so a different experience overall.
Yeah.
Claire.
Well,
a bit better.
A bit better than that, but still not great. Even as a midwife, I was not prepared for giving birth properly. Yeah. Ended up with a forceps delivery. Okay. All ended up pushing for about 4 hours. So it wasn't the most positive birth. Ended up in theatre with the forceps, and then it's stereotypical. She didn't cry, so she was taken away for a bit, and we had to stay in for a little while afterwards as well. So it wasn't great, and even though it wasn't obviously as bad as your experience, I still had some PTSD symptoms afterwards myself. So, it doesn't necessarily matter what birth you have. It can happen anyway.
Yeah.
Considering how close I am to giving birth for the second time, I'm very on the fence still between an elective C-section or a VBAC. For those watching at home who don't know what a VBAC is, that's vaginal birth after cesarean. Of course, the first time I was very holistic, Earth Mother, this baby's just going to slide out, read all the books. I was like, yeah. And for it to go so far left, I'm now I feel like a lot of my energy went into trying to give birth. And I'd like to skip those steps, to be honest, because by the time I had the emergency C-section, I was exhausted. It'd been 19 hours on a hormone drip to dilate to 2 centimetres. I'm really not trying to do that again. But then another side of me is, could I potentially be ruining what could be a nice, natural, happy birth experience?
From the perspective as a mum, I'm very much would be like you if I had another. Although I did have a vaginal birth with help, I would think, do I want to deny that opportunity to have a normal birth? can I do it? And, you know, would I feel better if I did?
Yeah.
But equally, I kind of feel like, as also a mum, I'd be like, yeah, well, it went so wrong in my mind last time. If I just had a cesarean, then I'd know when it was going to be, in theory. I'd be able to get myself psyched up for it. Yeah. And then I would know kind of going forward that was what my plan was, rather than feeling, oh my God, am I going to have to go through a labour like that again? But from a midwife's point of view, every birth is so completely different. And although you would have had a cesarean before, there are loads of women that have VBACs very successfully. Yeah. And, you know, even kind of to the point that it was the birth that they always wanted.
That's interesting to hear about the pressure of VBAC, because I sincerely feel that. I feel like, you know, it's been really pushed as better than a C-section. And I understand why, because it's natural. But for some women, it's just not the first choice. No. And so caught between a rock and a hard place is a little bit of an understatement at the minute.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with having a second cesarean, nothing at all, you know, and if that's right for you, that's the best thing. And, you know, most midwives would support that, but, you know. Another
normal thing, which no one really likes to talk about, you might have more experience just from a midwife perspective, but pooing during labour. I mean, I need to go there for a second. Was that ever a worry?
Yeah, I'm a very shy pooer. I don't even like pooing when my son is in the house and he's like, "Mummy, what are you doing?" Like, nothing. I'm not doing. Yes, I'm doing my taxes. I say, so for the first birth, they didn't want to give me a cesarean, and right sort of at the end of labour, when I'd been at it for hours, they were saying push, push, and I was full of epidural. I couldn't feel it. I had no idea whether I was blinking, never mind pushing. But I do remember I was surrounded by faces, and there was a moment when I was pushing. I was like, am I pushing? Am I just moving a finger? And then everyone went, oh. And I think I must have pooed. And they went, oh, and then they went, no, nothing. And then a midwife came and cleared some stuff away. And I was like, yeah, but I think I may have just pooed everywhere.
It's actually a completely normal physiological response. So as the baby descends further into the pelvis, it actually depresses the rectum, which causes anything that's in there to come out. And you can't physically give birth until that's come out, because it's, you know, if you imagine it's in the way. So by the head pushing
like an
down.
appetizer.
Sort of, yeah, but it's not everyone does.
Right.
But if you do, honestly, the midwives don't even bat an eyelid. It's seen and done all the time, and you just clear it away and get on with your life, and that's it.
Given what we know, no matter how negative, what would you say, looking back, what would you tell yourself about what's about to happen? But keeping it nice, keeping it like, even if the worst should happen, this is how you're going to get through this.
I have 3 pieces of advice. 1, always accept the cup of tea that you're offered when you come out of having a baby. Yeah. Because when my first baby was born, you know, my first baby, I just had, you know, quite a dramatic experience. But the only thing I could think about when I was in the recovery room was the fact that I'd said no to a cup of tea. I was like, oh, what? I've been trying to give birth for, you know, 15 hours. It's my first cup of tea. And they handed me the baby and I was still like, yeah, but where's my tea? So have a cup of tea, I would say. Secondly, it's really, whatever happens to you, if you're on a maternity ward, it can be hot and it can be really noisy. I didn't sleep for like 4 nights and I started hallucinating quite badly. So take earplugs, you'll hear your baby cry. Yeah. Take the earplugs and take the eye mask. Because whatever happens, you need to sleep afterwards.
Yes.
It doesn't end when you have the baby.
No.
At all.
No.
You need to think of yourself, because then you can be a good mum.
I wish I'd treasured the time in hospital more.
Oh, really?
Because then you get home to your empty house, there's no midwife, it's you trying to like hobble up and down the stairs and do all of... I'm like, I wish every time a midwife had asked, can I do that or should I do that, I just said yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to dive into one of my favourite parts of this show, Ask the Internet. Which, as a pregnant woman, even for the second time, is my go-to, and maybe it shouldn't be, because some of the things you find there, I'm just like, really, I don't want that to happen.
Never image search.
Never image search. Best piece of advice, first time birth. Don't read horror stories about births gone wrong.
That's all you find, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't invite mothers to your baby shower.
Oh.
Even I did it to my sister-in-law. I was like, oh God, birth was awful. And just like went on this, like eating a cupcake shaped like a vagina. And I was still like, oh, just shut up.
Yeah. It's almost better to be sugar-coated when you're on that side of things, because you don't want to think about the worst thing that can happen.
Don't obsess about your birth plan.
Definitely not.
Yeah?
Yeah, I didn't have one a second time
Yeah,
round.
I don't. Yeah, I agree with that. I'm with that. Ha 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 ha! Don't forget to do your pelvic floor exercise.
I'm doing mine right now.
Like, it's interesting because as someone who had a C-section, you would falsely believe that is just. That's,
got out of that.
That is just so. That's not my business, is it? Do your pelvic floor exercises. Make sure you have huge pants for during and after.
Definitely.
Yes, and also that they stretch.
Yeah.
That they're not sort of nice boy shorts.
I would say get C-section pants no matter what.
Yeah.
Because they're never going to do you a disservice, are they?
Lastly, practice breathing and meditation. I agree with that.
Sure, yeah.
Won't do
Unless,
any harm.
I mean, like me, you get put under for your C-section.
I know.
And then you wake up thinking you were having a nap on your sofa and you get really confused. And then someone hands you a baby and you go, oh.
Do you have any advice about something that a woman should take in as comfort, or you look back and you think, gosh, if I had that in my hospital bag, it won't have changed the situation, but it'd make me feel a whole lot better?
I think probably taking a pillow in with you. It doesn't have to be the big nursing pillows, but just something from home, because the pillows in the hospital, the beds in the hospital are never like your home bed. And if you've got your pillow and it smells like home, it can be quite comforting. Obviously keep it at the northern end rather than the southern end. But it's lying on a pillow that's lined in plastic. It's never going to be quite as pleasant as lying on your own. So I would pack my pillow next time probably.
Yeah, this is quite basic, but I think most women would get this. I didn't. I forgot the baby bag. I left it by the front door. So my son had to be dressed in whatever they had lying around. And because I was having a cesarean, my husband had to do it, and he had to do it, and he got quite a lot of eye judgment from the other midwives. So I think, remember your baby bag so that your baby gets dressed.
Yeah, I'd be like comfort food of some sort that can be brought in. I didn't realise just how much you'd miss a certain chocolate bar, and also that you can't just run down to the vending machine by yourself depending on the kind of birth you've had. So if I could have what I want to eat when I want to eat it, I think that would have been brilliant. Well, personally, that has been great. Has it made me decide about VBAC or C-section or scented candles? Not quite, but leave a comment below and I shall see you soon.